So children, by the first video you must have already had an idea that the purpose of sending these videos is to make you aware of how to write stories, okay? So again I'm going to tell you what is a short story or what is a story all about. The first thing what we should know about a short story is a work of fictional narrative prose with a few characters, limited setting and a single major event. A short story is meant to be read in a single sitting, okay? Means it is a fictional narrative prose. Fictional means I have already explained. Fictional means something which is not real, it is unreal, it is an imagination that you have had in your mind and you're jotting down in a piece of paper by framing it in a form of a story. So this is what story actually is all about and story writing is all about, okay? Now next is inspirations for story. From where you can get the certain inspirations for writing a proper story. Your life experiences, right? Second is a story you heard from somebody, a family story, a what if scenario. What if you were the president of India? That kind of story, a news story, a dream that you had recently, an interesting person you saw in the recent past, photographs, art, etc. Many things are there from where you can just find an inspiration to write your own story. So before writing the story, you can just see these pictures to write your own creative stories. These are the points from where you can get the theme of your story, your life experiences, and art, photographs, an interesting person you saw, news story, what if scenario, family story, story you heard, and experiences. Okay, so you get a number of topics over here. Now next is the description. Then you have to give the personal details, and there you see the diagram where it has been mentioned that there's a character. There you have to describe then personal details, the name, the desires, the quirks, the habits and traits. Everything in minutely you have to mention when you're writing a story, because that is what a story is all about. It is not just about Tom, Dick and Harry that whatever you want to write you can write. You have to put the details, okay? Now you see how to write a good story. A good story contains a lot of elements that all have to work together. First important point is character, then your language, settings and plot. You all want your characters to be interesting. I'm not reading it all, you can give it a reading, okay, afterwards. Language, you see, describing your characters and settings in interesting ways can make your story more enjoyable for the audiences or for the person who is reading the story. Use adjectives and adverbs, use the five senses, use the metaphors and similes and vary your sentences structure, okay? Then settings, where you have to set the story properly, okay? And you have to use the place where your story happens, the time of the day and etc. And plot, the beginning, middle and end, okay? I have already explained in the later part. What makes a good story great? Add dramatic content, write rhythmic prose, create memorable characters, make each part effective, deepen plot with subplot, make dialogue count, add immersive setting, include conflict, write great beginnings and give satisfying endings, okay? Now add dramatic means mystery, thriller, tension, surprise, wonder, what not you can add to your own story to make it more creative. Write rhythmic prose, read aloud to hear your writing's musical cadence, okay? Create memorable characters, give character goals, strengths, flaws, personas, etc. Then make each part effective, be conscious about what each part wants to do. Deepen plot with subplot, how each other plot lines develop your own main themes, and many things are there. Just give it a reading, you can know many other things, okay? So children, let us once again discuss about the elements of writing a story, okay? See children, it is certainly exciting to think about all the different options that could be explored in writing a story. Every writer, whosoever is writing, should work in a different way. Some writers who start writing a story, they start working through the beginning to the end, and others work in pieces, they arrange the later, while others work from sentence to sentence. Whether you are writing a short story or flash fiction, don't be afraid to try out different voices and styles. Experiment with different story writing techniques, story ideas and story structures. Keep that works for you and discard the rest. Your materials and process will guide you to own your own set of rules. Okay, so the basic elements of writing a story are definitely setting, plot, character, point of view, theme. This already we discussed in the last video. And setting means the time, place and environment in which the story takes place, and plot means the series of events in the story that reveal the conflict, crisis and resolution. Now conflict, you know that something the story starts with a character who the male protagonist or the female protagonist, and she or he is going against the society to fight for something, for the good or the bad. That is the conflict that takes place. Now crisis, or we can say as the climax of the story, when some twist takes place. And resolution is something that towards the end we can get the viewpoint that the story has happened for the good or the bad. Okay, we are going to get that this is the knowledge we are going to gain from the story towards the end. That is the resolution. Now character, point of view, theme we already had discussed. Trying to tell us about the subject of the story is the theme. Okay, now again the same picture I have given here, that elements of a short story. Short story can be under 1000 words. Anything under 1000 words can be considered to be a short story. Now plot, conflict, climax, resolution, theme, point of view, characterization. Characterization, you have to give different sort of characteristics to the story. You have to make some memorable character. Your job as a writer is to learn about the character by observing how they interact with the world around them. Okay, like have hobbies, pets, histories, ruminations, obsessions, everything that you have to mention properly. Okay, and you have to use like the conflict, like internal and external conflict you can use, and the dialogues, that if you're using a special character, how they should talk among each other, that also you have to write in a proper way so that it will be looking very natural. Okay, let us learn a story now. Okay, playing catch. Kate and her brother Jake like to play catch. They play with softballs, footballs, and tennis balls. They toss the balls back and forth in the yard all the time. Sometimes they go to the park to have more space for throwing the balls farther. When it is raining out, they play catch in the basement. They use a tennis ball because it bounces off the basement walls. Jake is going to soccer camp for a week this summer, and Kate is sad because she won't have anyone to play catch while he is gone. The week before Jake leaves, they go to the park together. There's a girl tossing a ball in the air by herself. Kate and Jake invite her to play with them. Her name is Brooke. Kate is happy now that she has a new friend to play catch with while her brother is at the camp. Okay, so what did you understand from the story? This is the title already has been given. Suppose you are given a plot like playing catch, then how you are going to start is first you see the characters, Kate and her brother Jake. The similar characters, again they got a girl who came and joined later, and her name is Brooke. She was not happy, so she built the story is built on a story that she was going to be unhappy because Jake was leaving for practicing something. So this is the part of the story elements you see from here. Okay, now I just want to give you a definition of what is narrative writing. Okay, what is narrative writing? I'm sorry for this disturbance behind. Narrative writing is something that tells a story or gives an account of something that has happened. The purpose is to recount a story grounded in personal experiences on the writer's imagination. And who is the writer over here? You are the writer. And what are the methods? The methods are using a setting, characters, circumstances, events, or plot, a point of view, and a sense of resolution to tell a story. Description of these elements is a key factor. May employ strategies such as flashback, something that has happened in the past, foreshadowing, dialogue, tension, suspense, every type of action, and you have to give sort of emotions and everything, drama you have to mention in the story, which will give the audience who is reading a sort of interest to read more. Okay, now what narrative writing is and is not is effective narrative composition. And effective narrative composition is not, you can see the difference. Use a lively lighting voice to engage the reader, and this side it is flat, uninteresting writing. Uses vivid sensory details and concrete language. Means sensory details means all the taste and the color and everything, the sensory organs details, and concrete language, so that the reader would understand what has happened actually in the story. They would get a vivid idea, a bright idea regarding the story. Using a variety of sentences, the way you articulate your story, the way you articulate your imagination in the paper, that is the way the reader is going to take it and understand that yes, he is going to be the best of the writer. Then contains correct sentences, usage, grammar, spelling that makes the writer's idea understandable. Okay, understandable. It should be understandable, right? Now, overviews of ways to organize narrative writing. Purpose. What story is the writer telling? Beginning, middle, end. How is the beginning and how is the middle and how is the end to the story? Now, flashback is something that end, most dramatic event, beginning and the middle is holding the most important thing when you take the reader again back to the flashback, and beginning, situation or conflict, climax, resolution of the conflict. Now, focus in narrative writing. In narrative writing, the focus of the story may be character development, the plot, a setting and time period, or a deeper theme. Part of maintaining focus is selecting relevant details. What is relevant means the minute details which are necessary in the story, not required to write the unnecessary things which are not having any sort of importance in the story, and leaving out information that may distract the reader from the focus of the story. The focus of the story should be a purpose. Okay, now narrative purpose, a purpose of a narrative is to tell a story and capture the reader's interest is the most important thing you have to keep in mind, that you should always hold on to the reader's interest. Narrative purpose means you are the purpose, writing the story is the purpose, and you should hold on to the interest of the reader. Some stories have a meaning that goes deeper than simply the event. Sometimes the writer has a point to make, and etc. You can read it over here. Okay. Now, character development. Characters can be developed through action, through dialogues, through description. What is action? The characters feel, think and do. You have to mention that. Dialogue, what the character says, you can use yeah, right, yes. The way you just make the character build up, the dialogue should be set accordingly. And description is what the character looks like in your story. He's fat or thin or whatsoever. You just give different description that she's beautiful, she or he was very good looking, but due to the amount of money he was not having, he is not able to maintain that look. So he looked like a rag or riches. Anything that you have in your mind, give that narration and description to the character, which would enhance the story in a more better way. You can just hold on to the interest of the reader and they will like the story, that yes, this is a story. Okay, now next is the important thing is the types of languages that you need to use in your story. Interesting languages, sensory details, descriptive. Sensory details are what a character see, hear, taste, smell and feel. Writers use details that appeal to the senses to help the reader imagine the events of the story. Now descriptive, first is sensory, then descriptive, conveys an idea, image, impression, and figurative, figures of speech or phrases that suggest meaning different from the literal meanings, hyperbole, metaphor and irony, etc. everything. And simple ordinary languages like common words that are correct but not precise. Okay, that are correct but not precise. You should have the ability to linger the sentences, to just linger the plot, so that there would be some interest built up in the story. Okay, so these are the types of languages you should use while writing a story. Next is narrative organizational patterns. Again, I am coming back to the same points because everything revolves around these points only. That is the beginning, middle and end. Then the flashback, which holds on to the end, beginning and middle. And then the third one is beginning, situation or conflict, climax, resolution of the conflict. Okay. Now, if you are thinking that what teacher is telling all about, then you have to just think that how to hold on to the story, that it should look and have some weightage while the reader is reading. Don't just bluff. Again and again I'm telling you, don't just bluff that something. Once upon a time there was a boy named Ram. He was standing near the river and a crow flew over. And don't just repetitive and story that has already happened and we have read n number of times. Just try to write something new. It should be fresh. Okay, it should be new, it should be fresh and attract the readers. Okay. So by now you all must be knowing that what are the most important factors while writing a story. That is, always should be the focus on beginning, middle or the middle body or the middle part of the story, and the ending. So I had already read a story, Playing Catch. Now it is your duty now, and it is a small homework. Apart from writing the story, creative story of your own, you have to do the small kind of exercise that you have to go back to the story once again, and from that story you have to write the beginning according to your own will. You have to write the beginning, the middle or the middle part of the story, and ending, and you have to show it to us when the school reopens, or else you can send the pictures to the respective English teachers, so that it would be easy for us to know that whether you have understand which is the beginning part, which is the middle body, and which is the ending of the story. This would help you as well as us to understand that you have understood in a better way. Okay, now I hope that you have liked the video, you have seen the video in a proper manner, everything has been explained in a beautiful way. I hope I have done justice to your mind, and I have just opened up and triggered your the brain, where you can know that how to start writing a story, how to do the creative writing, how to narrate the story that has happened in the past, whether it is fictional or non-fictional. So do watch the video properly and do your homeworks. We are waiting for the story that you are writing. Bye children, take care.